Tennis is a simple game between 2 or 4 players involving a ball, racket, and physics. During a game of tennis, the basic principles of physics are being demonstrated. Concepts such as Newton's first, second, and third laws of motion, as well as gravity, motion, weight, mass, and finally friction, can be observed when playing. Newton's first law states, an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. When a ball is hit with a racket, it continues in a forward direction until outside forces, in this case air resistance and gravity, act upon the object to slow it down and bring it to the ground. Newton's second law states that the acceleration of an object is dependent upon 2 variables, the net force acting upon the object and the mass of the object. When in motion, the distance the tennis ball goes is dependent on the force you exert on it. You find it by multiplying the mass of the tennis ball by the proportional acceleration. The harder the force on the ball, the farther and faster it will go. Newton's third law states, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. In a game of tennis, when you serve the ball to your opponent, they will volley it back to you. When a racket applies force to a tennis ball, the ball also applies force to the racket. Since the forces are in balance and the racket is bigger, you don't necessarily see the ball pushing on the racket. The larger force chooses the direction in which an object will go. In the game of tennis, there are different forces being exerted throughout the rally. Balanced forces would be players and tennis balls pulled down by gravity and pushed up by the court. An unbalanced force would be serving or hitting back the racket, which would exert an unbalanced force on the ball. The mass of a tennis ball will also affect the rally. If the mass of the ball increases, then the height the ball bounces will increase, because the more mass an object has, the more energy that gets built up when the ball gets released, which makes the ball go higher. In sports that typically use balls, topspin is a property of the ball that rotates forward as it is moving. Topspin on a ball causes a downward force, which causes the ball to drop. Hitting a ball at top speed causes Magnus forces to act on the ball perpendicular to the velocity of the ball in the upwards direction. The Magnus effect is when a spinning ball or cylinder curves away from its principal flight path. Without topspin, gravity would not bring the ball down fast enough because of how hard it was hit. With topspin, the ball is forced to the ground because of the downward rotation of the ball. Gravity pulls the ball back to the ground faster. Once topspin is added, it contributes to the force of gravity and it allows the ball to fall even quicker. Finally, friction can affect every aspect of tennis. Friction is the force that causes an object to stop. Fluid friction affects tennis when the tennis ball is in the air. Rolling friction affects tennis when the tennis ball rolls on the ground. Sliding friction affects tennis when the tennis ball hits the tennis racket and slides during a topspin. When a tennis ball bounces and travels toward the opponent after being hit, it has a natural topspin caused by the friction of the tennis court. The friction between the tennis racket strings and the tennis ball causes the ball to spin forward towards the player when the tennis racket is slid under the ball. The sport of tennis can demonstrate different aspects of physics in one game.